There is one guy who's been to Lebanon in the 80s, which was not really the best period to visit Lebanon. And now he returned. And he returned in another position that makes him able to go everywhere, sometimes with a driver and a bodyguard, which we're not lucky, all of us, to have that so we get out of the traffic. I would like to introduce Ambassador Lex Bartlem, Australian Ambassador to Lebanon. We're so happy to have him with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tanya. Before I start, I just want to welcome also all of you who've travelled a long way from Lebanon to be here tonight as well. Mr. Zahraman, member of the Lebanese Parliament, Robert Watkins, Ayman Maki, Tanya, you and your group, and the crew from the other media outlets as well. Thank you very much. We hope you're going to enjoy your time in our wonderful country, and may I also say that I think we are also very lucky, me on a temporary basis, to live also in a wonderful country that is Lebanon. So, I'm delighted to be here tonight to celebrate the creation of the Australia-Lebanon Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and I warmly congratulate the Chamber, its chairman and president, and my friend Fadi Zuki, and the entire board and membership. I'm also delighted to be able to catch up with so many good friends and colleagues while I'm in town. As Tanya said, I first lived in Lebanon in 1980 and 1981, during a period when Lebanon was shattered by civil war and Beirut was a divided city. But through all the hardship and uncertainty, I saw in the Lebanese people a sense of survival. Somehow the country continued to operate. The community was outward looking, still innovative, and still trading. After a few visits back in the following years, I returned to Beirut again in 2010, when it was very evident that that Lebanese spirit was alive and thriving. It still is, and I see it here tonight. Lebanon has great potential, and of course, as we all know, its best resource is its people. I believe what Lebanon needs most of all is unity. All parties and peoples working together for the benefit of Lebanon first. I encourage you to continue to work together, especially the three chambers, the Australia-Lebanon Chamber of Commerce that we're inaugurating here tonight, the Australian-Lebanese Chamber of Commerce in Sydney with Joe Qatar, who's a friend of mine who is here tonight as well, and the Australia-Arab Chamber of Commerce, which is represented tonight by Chairman Ray Najjar. I think we need more exchanges and more visits to foster a greater understanding of each other and what we each can bring to the relationship. Like, for example, the visit in 2004 of the Honourable Steve Bracks as Premier of the State of Victoria, which did so much to boost the relationship and lead to what we're here doing tonight. For Australia, I believe there are great opportunities in many fields in Lebanon, including in construction, health, education, services, food and hospitality, and of course tourism. Each country has a lot to offer in the way of tourism. Lebanon has so much history. I never tire of taking visitors to Baalbek, to the Bekaa, to Beit Adin, to Jeta Kroto, which I went to 10 times last year, Harissa, and of course, my favourite is having lunch in the old port at Byblos. Last year, Lebanon demonstrated its confidence in the relationship and Australia's economic future with the Bank of Beirut acquiring a bank in Australia and establishing the Beirut Hellenic Bank. And it's good to see the CEO, James Wakeham, here tonight too. Last week, before I travelled to come home, I met with Mohammed Shoukair, President of the Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture for Beirut and Mount Lebanon, and he expressed his deep regret that at the last moment he had to cancel his visit to Australia. He really wanted to be here tonight, and I can assure you he is very engaged and very focused on the relationship. I actually had lunch with him, and he might have had a problem here tonight because we had a very quick lunch of 45 minutes, but he smoked 3 cigars in that time. I also met in the last week with the Minister for Industry and the Minister for Trade, both of whom are equally as engaged and see untapped potential in the relationship between our two countries. We are proud that around 400,000 people, I know we've heard 500 and 700,000, I'm not sure what's happened in the last 18 months while I've been away, but I say we're proud that around 400,000 people of Lebanese origin have chosen to call Australia home. And I can tell you that every time I get the chance, I tell people in Lebanon of the strong and positive contribution that Lebanese migrants have made and continue to make to Australia's society and culture. We're very, very proud of that. In addition to the strong people-to-people links that have built the relationship between Australia and Lebanon, there is another strong historical link which demonstrates Australia's long commitment to Lebanon's independence and sovereignty. And this is where, Carly, you might get me closer to 2 minutes. It was going to be longer, but Robert Watkins told a bit of the story about Nicholas Khoury, and I only learnt that story last year. But we had a photographic exhibition in Beirut and Tripoli late last year to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the presence in Lebanon in 1941 of around 18,000 Australian soldiers. As part of the Allied invasion of the Vichy French-controlled Lebanon and Syria, Australian troops entered Lebanon from Haifa in Palestine in June 1941. And over the following 5 weeks, they fought some of the most difficult battles encountered by Australian troops in World War II. On the way, they fought at the Litani, at Jizin, at Majaoun, and finally at Beirut. The efforts of the Australian soldiers as part of that Allied campaign played a significant part in Lebanon achieving its independence 2 years later in 1943. Australia has always strongly supported Lebanon's independence and sovereignty. Our support continues in many ways. For example, Australia has provided almost $5 million to assist Lebanon in clearing widespread contamination from unexploded ordnances, including cluster munitions, following the conflict with Israel in 2006. And I've visited 2 of those sites in Nabatea and Tyre and seen the work that's being done down there. And the work is being done by farmers who would normally be farming those beautiful lands down there, but now they've been trained to identify and blow up landmines. Hopefully one day soon they'll have their farmlands back. We've also just entered into a defence cooperation program with Lebanon, under which 6 members of the Lebanese Armed Forces will come to Australia over the next 12 months to undertake specialty training with the Australian Defence Forces. And the first one of those 6 actually arrives in Melbourne tomorrow. Finally, we are delighted that His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Lebanon, General Michel Sleiman, will visit Australia as a guest of the Australian government in April this year, in about 6 weeks' time. It's great. And I'm lucky I get to come with him again. So I know the President is particularly keen to meet with the Lebanese Australian community while he's here, and I'm not sure how Ambassador Jean-Daniel is going to manage that, but it's going to happen. This will be the first ever visit to Australia by a President of Lebanon. It will be a momentous event for both countries and will provide an opportunity to broaden and enhance the already excellent bilateral relationship that exists between our 2 countries. Thank you.